Huh? What's this? Silenced prayers written by Kyra Caldwell. Well, I've broken in here and I'm not going to steal anything, so I might as well take this. Well, maybe I should read it first. Yeah, that sounds like the smartest idea. Right then.
Eons ago, longer than I can remember, there was once a hierarchy of whom only carried one child within the heirs. The bloodline was weak, but the wealth was plentiful enough to keep them on top of the townsfolk of Sprucehorn. Said townsfolk felt doubt upon thy for their rule upon the place for causing such a food shortage, which in turn caused rations to become rarer than ever, leaving certain homes clawing for even a slight loaf. Meanwhile, the rich got a party of all sorts at their old banquets held within the secondary castle, one I knew most well. Even with all the gatherings, Darth's words fell upon deaf ears. The two monarchs had gathered many just to give appreciation to their little heir, yet Di hadn't a soul who'd listen without being commanded to, not even Darth's parents, which of whom spoilt him with most delicate rarities. The echoes and howls of the wind and the vibration and distant chattering from on each and every corner of the corridor of this place made it unbearably hard to hear thyself, as such silence was rare, if there were any at all at any time. To be any peace within the halls and walls, it'd be within the midnight hour. Every night the child prayed upon a miracle to come forth, any echo of silence, any mind to listen, or any care at all would count the young'un. But alas, for months, nothing, a loud and echoing nothing. The kid had started to lose thy's faith that any and all prayers shall oft be listened to by the gods themselves, until a singular night changed thou's hopes and prayers so heavily it changed their entire course of life. 4:32 a.m., 1655. The night was quiet. For once in his life, he had heard utter silence that had been complemented by the winds of change. The child was baffled, codswabbled, and utterly dumbfounded, wondering and pondering if this new silence came as an answer towards Di's prayers. Di slowly inched towards the door to his room, twisting the handle and pulling it open. The handle felt colder, a lot colder than it usually was in the main castle. Once Di had walked out towards the corridor, he felt a warm sensation fall throughout his body, before Di turned around and noticed something odd. The gas-lit lights were out. None of the lights had been scheduled to be replaced, so why would they ever fizzle? Di thought to thyself. He noticed a figure from the distance with long arms and a trench coat, with a posture almost formal-like, with its back towards the young'un. Darth pondered if Di should have moved more closer towards the figure, maybe greet it like he was taught to. In the end, his curiosity got the best of him as he walked up to the figure and tapped its back. The figure then swung in an angle as it turned to the face of the child, moving its 6 arms in the process. As Di got a better look at the figure, one thing became apparent: it was no human nor devil, as the demons shall have only come after those using a sweet and kind disguise. This figure looked more hideous compared to the rich standards of his lifestyle. The figure reached its hand towards the child, lending it to him, not saying a word, only gesturing for thee to follow, to show kindness towards the young master. The child grasped the finger's hand and held onto it tight as Tao gestured towards his room's door. hoping to enter a place he'd feel more comfortable instead of the contrary that might come with the figure as ideal spot. The figure noticed the youngin's gestures and followed the boy towards the door. As they entered, the child let go of the figure's hand as it rushed towards the bed, before sitting down with elegance. The figure started to crisscross himself on the floor. The figure sat in silence, awaiting for the youngin to speak. The child took note and spoke to show politeness. "Hi, to who is thee?" it had asked. The figure smiled, coughed slightly before putting its hat on its chest. "I am but a messenger, Mr. Coryphon. You can call me Sire Coryphon." The figure then lifted its hat back on its head. The boy swallowed before nodding, then speaking like so. "Sir Coryphon, is thou here to answer my prayers? The place haveth never been so still before. 'Tis why thou asks." The boy spoke nervously, for the figure got up and dusted his trench coat off, seemingly taken aback by the answer. "If it fulfills ye heart, then yes, I am here to give you a voice within the silence. But before I let thou speak, may I show thee, young master, why I was in the halls of the corridor." The figure got close to the door. The boy, who was afraid that thy figure would leave of him, followed him like requested to the corridor within the dark. There he saw something he haveth not noticed prior, a body. Suddenly, the figure moved 4 of his arms and grabbed me, raised the youngin above his head, and tilted die to show the body in better detail. "Does Darth know this man? He must have died from a wound to the die stomach. It must have been a cause by a complicated request in the kitchen." The figure showed him the body, closer than he'd like to have seen it. I studied the corpse. This was a grotesque sight, which haveth made the boy grow queasy. The figure then put down the boy, then without hesitation he picked up the body, turning it around in its many arachnid-like hands, almost seeming like thy haveth enjoyed doing it. "You see, thou's wound haveth not dried up yet, proving it been an early and dire times. The pigment of thy skin haveth not faded. 'Tis still fresh, don't you know?" The child nodded as a small yet cold chill ran down our spine. The figure got up, dusted its coat before looking at the youngin. "He were one to end up like them. 'Tis was not a pleasant death. Though amusing, wouldn't be too fun to experience. No." The figure walked away from the corpse as it grabbed the child and then took them back to the youngin's room. Di had been startled by the sudden lift the man caused. Once Di had been put down, right back in his room, Thou had made a promise with the being, a promise to talk, a promise to listen and speak, more than once, per prayer, to lift the word from the deaf upon to the hearing. The figure, though slightly hesitant, haveth agreed, shaking the child's small hand with a calm motion, to not startle them more. After shaking hands, the figure bid the young sire adieu before disappearing within the darkness of the corridor. As the weeks had passed, the young'un had stopped pleading with Di's parental figures to listen, but instead took his words to the figure each and every night, either by prayer or by conversation, deep into each night. Each week he have been shown more and more of the grotesque scenes had been the desire of the figure. But instead of being disturbed by the figure's desire to see such odysseys, thou simply kept to thyself and stayed polite. Throughout those weeks the two grew closer. The boy began to become attached to the figure, no longer weirded out by how odd the man's proportions may have seemed. The distance within the air had been cleared for the child's mind. The figures, however, have not budged since the beginning, its goal staying eminent from the start. One particular evening, while a party had been ongoing within the castle, sparked discourse within the two. The figure seemed more distant, yet the child clinged tightly evermore. The figure have heard vile words being said by the youngin one day about demonic entities, and thus Darth realized what thy youngin was on from the beginning. That moment on, suddenly, the figure flung the child, to whom was clutching the figure's trenchcoat ever so tightly. The youngin had fell to the floor before hitting their back on thy wardrobe. The child became frightened and tried to verbally fight back, knowing thou have no strength. All of a sudden, a spark have been lit, the lamps have been turned on, and thus the flames grew and grew, stronger, brighter, hotter. It had become unstable from the snap of the figure's fingers. A face of utter disgust and disappointment was read right across the man's face. The youngin's adrenaline started to run fast, thus their heartbeat banged within their chest, the tears, fears and fury all combining into one lash out, a lash out towards the man whom betrayed him over seemingly nothing, as if the figure had been plotting since the moment they met all those months ago. The figure haveth not responded to the boy, only glaring before turning back to the flames of the lamps. The lamps' flames have grown, which have grew drastically, now engulfing the wall, almost spreading throughout, causing a thick, potent smog of smoke to form, causing the young sire to cough heavily. The child slowly but surely got onto thy knees, hoping it would help of thee. For what it had seemed to be the final time, the boy shouted at the figure before finally getting a response. A short, malicious laugh for sadistic retention. Your words mean nothing. So flightless, just like life, fleeting and pathetic. Wouldn't thee rather be freed from such a curse? A cruel smile was plastered all over his face. It was the first time the child ever saw its face. Its offer was worrying, the wording astray. Well, seems I shall make that decision for thee. I bid of thou good night. All of a sudden, a fury of flames engulfed the ceiling, floors, and which led the doorway. The child started feeling that their body was bubbling. Thou's skin felt as if thy was sent into a swarm of snakes, all sense rising until thy symptoms fell. The young sire felt like he was stabbed, and watched as the figure disappeared into the smoky smog of the rooms as the castle was set alight. The youngin haveth decided to flee. Just a window is his best option to escape, and without no breaks, his body felt light, thinner, pale. The moonlight shone upon thy and then shone upon the secondary castle, as some sort of divine path haveth been made by the dye's moon energy. After following the moonlight, covering himself with a large cloth from thy bed frame from the castle, he looked behind thee and saw the fire growing ever brighter before fleeing faster away towards the secondary castle, carrying his fears, tears, fury and pain all with thee. Many a years later, those who resided within the castle during the fire's outbreak were found dead, including the hierarchy. No signs of their child. The bloodline had ended. Many have told stories, rumours, lies about the child's death, about how the fire started, and to whom should be blamed. Though I know all too well whom did it, whom died and whom lived, at whom resides in the castle of deemed most haunted. A count of all types lurks up to a blood-stained castle, the master of the mantle, the child long forgotten, the silent one. I have of but one warning as thou stands upon the castle rooftop, as I write of thee. Recall the details and mark my story. Those whom tread here shan't have a kind entrance. I've been awaiting but over a few millennia to flee from these vampiric chains. Do not pray among thy middle-aged gods. Doubt does not answer, the demons do. They knock, they call, they wait, till you finally accept. Your doom awaits, whether thou knows or thou does not.